Hello, this is teacher Shalene. Today we are doing the second artwork of this month's theme, Into the Deep. We will be doing a watercolor artwork inspired by Australian artist Karen Zeller. Her artworks are very colorful with a lot of fun textures and details. To do this artwork, you will need thick drawing paper, pencil and eraser, watercolors, and color pencils. Let's get started. We are going to draw the body of the fish. First, draw an upwards curve. Next, draw a shorter curve near one end of the mouth. Draw a downward curve to complete the body. Let's add on the tail. You can draw any kind of fish tail that you like. I am drawing a spiny one. After you're done with the tail, it is time to add details. Give your fish an eye, a fin, and some scales. We added another line under the mouth to give the fish lips. After adding on the eye, we made the fin the same design as our tail so that they matches. Add on a little bit more patterns before moving on to the background. We are adding in some wavy lines to decorate the background. The drawing is relatively simple as we'll be adding lots of textures later on with the watercolor and color pencils. Now is a good time to pause the video if you're not done with your drawing. Let's move on. We're starting with watercolor. If you're using paints similar to mine, I like to spray them lightly to activate the paints first. I'll be using a lot of the watercolor technique, wet on wet. It means painting wet paint on wet paint and letting the water help the paints to blend. Be extra careful around the edges of the area you don't want to paint in just yet. Watercolor is transparent and it will be difficult to layer a lighter color on top of a dark one. Make sure to wash your brush clean before moving on to another color. I find it helpful to tap my brush lightly against my washing cup to remove excess water before picking up paints again. The more water you add into your watercolor paints, the lighter the colors will be. Now that I'm done with the head, I'm moving on to the tail to let the paints on the head dry first. I am doing this because watercolor is attracted to any wet spots and I do not want the colors on the head mixing with the ones that I want to use on the body. If the colors are not blending well, you can use a clean, damp brush to lightly blend them. Move on to the rest of the fish, making sure the areas around it does not have wet paint to prevent the colors from mixing with each other unless that is what you intended. Remember to use a small brush for small areas and only to use the tippy toe of your brushes by not pressing down too hard. Allow the paint on your fish to dry before moving on to the background. Drying time depends on how wet your paint is. You can use a hair dryer to help you speed up this step. Pause the video here if you're not done with the painting of your fish. Once you're sure that the paint on the fish is dry, move on to the background. We're still using the wet on wet technique. We are painting every alternate section to prevent the paints from mixing with each other. Pause the video here to finish the background and allow the paint to dry. We'll be using color pencils next. Pick a darker shade of the color you used for each part to add shadows. Adding shadows help to add depth in your artwork. You can also use white or lighter colors to add highlights on the higher areas of your artwork. The harder you press, the darker the colors will be. Go from dark to light to blend the color pencils into your paint. I am also using a darker color to add more details like patterns to the scales and to outline each area. Continue adding shadows and patterns to your fish and the background. Don't forget your outlines. And you are done! Well, this was a long one, isn't it? Watercolor takes lots of practice and patience, especially if you're new to it. If you're interested in learning more, we have an online workshop suitable for both kids and adults. Drop us a message on Instagram to find out more. If not, we'll see you next week. Remember to share photos with us on Instagram or Facebook. Bye!